What's going on, everybody? DogMan here. The Division 2 private beta weekend is basically coming to an end. Will be at an end probably by the time this video goes live. Maybe, who knows. Anyway, I spent a lot of time in there this weekend, considering how much time I normally have. I spent like 6 hours in there, give or take, playing. Mostly the main stuff. I just started tapping into the Dark Zone stuff and looking at the end game stuff. I didn't really get into that too much. Don't want to spoil much of that for me. Um, so let's give you my thoughts and impressions here. Now, there's a whole bunch of different things. I mean, I've played the Division now for a couple years, right? And I love the game. I've played hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours, and I still play it now. But I am definitely looking forward to this release here in March of the Division 2. If you compare the two games, there's definitely a difference in them, even in the basics of just coding and programming. It was a very solid experience, even with high settings and such. Kept making a couple different changes back and forth in my settings just to kind of try different stuff out. And of course, it's also based off of the recording software I was using. So when I was live streaming, I was using my Streamlabs OBS. Great, no problems at all. You know, phenomenal FPS, solid, steady all the way around. When I was using this stuff to record this, I'm still actually utilizing Fraps, okay? And everybody knows how old Fraps is. It's not been updated for years, but it's still a good baseline for me, and it's still a solid way to record that actually still works. Um, but it does require a lot of, you know, CPU usage and such, so it's a heavily intense program the way that it's designed. Now, even with my recording, I was still getting anywhere from 66 to 75 frames a second, or FPS, pretty much throughout the whole game. Okay, and when I stop recording, I jump right back up to 140, 160 frames a second, and you know, it was smooth. It was definitely smooth. Of course, there are some things you have to move around, some stuff you do have to change. Um, but obviously, kind of mess with those settings really when you get into the regular game itself. This was just a beta, so you know they're still tweaking stuff. So we'll see that when it comes out in March, and then you can really get into tweaking the settings, get the optimal out of it. Um, in the Division, even to this day now with my new laptop, yeah, I can get phenomenal frame rates and whatnot, but it still does have its points where it dips and it does have issues because of some coding. What I think Ubisoft definitely did great this time around was they didn't port the game, they actually designed one straight up for the PC players. So it's not a ported game, it's an actual straight up design for the PC players, separate from the console players, if you will. So that leaves us uncapped frame rates, no limits on anything. Whatever your PC can handle, you can do. Now, gameplay wise, yeah, you know, it is what it is, right? So it's a looter shooter, right? It's been that way before. You're doing a lot of looting. There's a lot of area to cover. It's a huge playground, if you will, and I'm sure as the game releases further DLCs and such like that, it's just going to get bigger, better, and more expanse like the original one did. Um, for me, I opted just to get the regular standard edition. It fit within my budget, and that's why I got into this private beta, because I pre-purchased. But I knew I was going to. This is the one game I've been waiting to play for a while now. The one game I've really been looking forward to. Overall, I could tell that the game, to me, plays much smoother, much better than the first version of it. You can see where they've made some changes. You can definitely tell there are some tweaks and stuff that is still going on. I had some mapping issues. There's a couple points where I kind of fell into the map when I was playing, and it was kind of odd places that I'd fall down, and I'd only have like a half a body, or there'd be things where you'd see, the AI only partially there. Um, so it's kind of, there's still definitely bugs. It's not perfect. Weapon wise, it's still very choosy choice in terms of weapons. There's some categories that do better than others. I personally am more of a rifle and an SMG guy, so I stuck pretty much with the rifles, the assault rifles, and the SMG, and I've been happy with that. Um, when I got my MP5 in the game, I was really extremely happy in there. So yeah, I mean, to that respect, there's going to be a lot of weapons, and you don't get to see all of that. You only got to go up to level 7, and then you could go over to play the end game stuff with 3 very specifically built characters that were end game, and try 3 very specific types of setups and such. A lot of things still being locked to this game that you couldn't play in the beta, that you have to wait till the actual game plays. So, in terms of perks and skills and things like that being locked out. Um, Overall, it'll take a little bit of time to get used to some of the menus and such. They've definitely enhanced them from the original version to what it is now. So it's just a little bit. It's not that it's more. It's basically the same stuff, maybe a little bit better in terms of some of the way it plays out. Um, the UI design is definitely very nice, but it's just gonna take a little bit to get used to. And then of course, seeing what the armor and what the gear sets. I like the changes they made in those gear sets and how you put them together. Um, so I was pretty happy with it overall. Yeah, it's still a little bullet spongy, but that's just the way we come to know the game, and that's just the way that it's designed to be. I'm gonna assume that we get a little bit higher level. Things may get worse, may get better. It's kind of an iffy thing. There's so many factors involved, and over time we're going to see some of these changes that are made, and weapon changes and balances. I hope the balancing system doesn't affect PvE as much as it did in the first game. Every time they balance stuff in PvP, um, where it would mess up things inside of the PvE based game for people that play mostly the PvE. And I mean, I play most of the PvE, honestly. That'll be where I spend the majority of my time. Yes, I'll do the Dark Zone stuff like I did before. I do enjoy the Dark Zone stuff, and having the different aspects of the Dark Zone this time for different levels of players should be interesting. Um, Having end game where you're going to be able to have your clan, because there's a clan system where you're going to be able to do 8-player missions, from my understanding. It's going to be pretty good. But at the base level, the game played well. Overall, it was what I was hoping it would be. It's not perfect, definitely not perfect. No game is perfect. But in terms of some of the betas that I've played through the past couple years, it's definitely a very solid base where they're at. But that's just me. Thoroughly enjoyed it. I am ready to play it. I'm ready to spend hundreds and hundreds of hours, thousands of hours, whatever it's going to be over the next few years of playing it. Because I know that it's going to be fun. And yeah, it's not the only game you're going to play. And it's not the only game that I'm going to play. But it's definitely something I'm going to play a lot of. Because I'm excited about it. But the one thing that did bother me, and this is just something that's been through the past few years now, is that the gaming community is becoming very, how do I put this, very SJW based. Social justice warriors have to have their play in the game, and the way this game is versus the way the first division was, completely different atmosphere. It I don't know how to put this. I guess it doesn't surprise me that the majority of these NPCs and the hyenas, specifically in the beginning of the game, were all female based, or minority based, even, if you will. And that's not that it's a bad thing, but it's kind of, you could clearly tell the way the game was based, that they did a lot of social justice to try to make sure everybody feels like they have a role in the game, and quite frankly, it doesn't really make any sense to me. Um, it kind of ruins the game to some extent, and you may think I'm crazy or I'm weird or I'm just an asshole, whatever, but it definitely ruins the experience a bit. I am not against, females, minorities, all that stuff being in the game, but just the way that it's designed these days. Um, Hell, I'm a minority. I'm not white Caucasian as my main, whatever you want to call me. Um, I'm not predominantly that, and I'm not going to get into it, but it bothers me that like every little part of this game, it was like females, 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 females pushing females. I think there was like one guy, two guys in the game in the background that you'd hear voices and stuff, and it was just, it doesn't make any sense to me. There needs, if you're gonna do it, mix it up. Mix it up. Don't overkill just to please a small crowd of people that don't really give a shit about games. Just because, you know what I'm saying? And maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm just weird or OCD or anal or whatever, but it just makes no fucking sense to me. And suddenly it's like, in the original game, when these NPCs and AI and stuff would come charging at you, no big deal, but it's just fucking weird the way that these hyenas were, and they were females and just randomly charging at you like kamikazes. It's like, and it just, the screaming and the weird things that they did, it just kind of over the top. Just, I mean, whatever. I'm gonna play the game because I really overall enjoy the game and I want to enjoy the game and all that. But there's just, I don't understand this whole SJW thing anymore. I mean, maybe I'm just too old. Maybe that's what it is. I'm just getting too old. That's, count it to being too old. There we go. Um, you know, but it just doesn't make any sense to me. You're never gonna please every single person in the crowd, ever. So why try? I just, I don't know. Am I being weird? Am I being crazy? I don't even know. Who cares? Whatever. Anyway, I enjoyed the game. I'm gonna enjoy a lot of the game. Hopefully, the clan will get in that game. I don't know what the clan system is like yet. It's kind of not really there, so I don't know. I do know that we'll be able to have up to 8 players in some missions, in the end game missions, so that should be cool. Looking forward to seeing what the system is like. If it's some kind of clan management system that's just per platform? Is it something that is across all 3 platforms that you can control to some extent? I don't know. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to the game. Hopefully, you guys are looking forward to it too, in terms of content that I'll put out. Probably doing a lot more live streaming of it, and then moving the content from Twitch over to YouTube for record keeping, if you will. But we'll do a lot of YouTube videos too. It's gonna all depend upon my mood, honestly, in terms of what I want to showcase. Do I want to play through the whole thing and show you every single mission and this, that, and everything else? And I'm not the best at the game. I died several times, but that's part of the game too. You do die. You figure out your mistakes. You go back to that mission. You do it all over again. You learn, and you get better. That's part of it. So we'll see how we play that out. What we do, showcase missions. Definitely going to be talking about builds, but not builds in the respect of how other people get real heavily crazy about, well, I got to get the max, number here and the max that and this, that, and everything else. That's not the way I play games. I play games based off of how I feel and what I enjoy, and I'll max my gear the way I want to max my gear and set it up so it's optimal for me, and it may work for other people, it may not work for other people, but that's just the way I've been for years in every game. Y'all know that if you followed me in other games. I don't necessarily play to what everybody expects you to play. So, anyway, um, that's my thoughts, my impressions on the beta. I will definitely catch y'all inside the main game. Um, until then, please feel free to leave comments, questions, any of that jazz below. I'll talk to you guys soon.